So this is the tent we use for the winter part of our hike. When we started, this is the tent we started with. This is a Hyperlight Mountain Gear Ultimate 4. And I only have just the 4 corners staked out. I don't have anything else staked out. But I made a few modifications to it. So I cut all the line locks off of it. And then at the corner, at the end here, I just use just a taut line hitch. And then I put on a bit of bungee on each of these, and all the perimeter ones also have a bit of bungee on them, bungee cord. And that's just for like gusts. You got some heavy gusts. This one here is just a clove hitch on the end there, where it's kind of bungeed on. This is the Kelty Trip Tees guy lines. These are the guy lines that it came with. They're not reflective and they're thicker in order to be used with the line locks, but I didn't really want the line locks, so I cut them all off. And then the other thing is, you can set this up with trekking poles, or since when I started I wasn't using trekking poles, and I got one of these. It's from Roto Lacura. It's just a carbon fiber center pole for it, and it's adjustable. So normally I would set this much closer to the ground than I have it right now, but just for demonstration purposes. And when you put all the guy lines out, it's pretty sturdy. It doesn't move a whole lot. But you can set it up as high as you want, or, well, not as high as you want, but you can set up higher or lower, just depending on how much air you want in, and depending on what the weather forecast looks like. If it looks like it's going to be bad, then you want to set it up low, and then you can pin them all, get up real close to it, and just pin them all right down to the ground.
Do they come with their own sticks, or did you have to buy those? You gotta buy all the own stakes. You gotta buy your stakes for it. The stakes I had that I really liked were these. These are the MSR that I have on the corners, and they're just kind of like a nail stake. They're aluminum. And I also have the MSR mini groundhogs. Are they pretty light?
They're light enough. That is the inside of it. We didn't take this on our trip with us because it was really cold. We didn't need the insect protection, so we just had a ground cloth that we used. But this is what we got with the tent, and it's the 2-person inner for this tent. So all this stuff is like really pricey, but we think it was really good for what it was. It goes up pretty quick too, so. I did attach, there's 3 other points that I attach with on the ground. I haven't attached anything else as far as the guy lines go, but I did attach those because it was a little windy. So but that's the mid, and then we'll throw in all the rest of our stuff inside there.
So this is our Thermarest pads, and originally we didn't have a pump, but it took me forever to pump it with, what do you call that bag? We're pumping the thermal?
Pump sack.
A pump sack. So we ended up getting one of those pumps, and I think they take 2 AAA batteries, so there's just extra thing to carry, but it takes about 5 minutes for it to fill up.
All right, so this is our winter setup for our sleep system. So we have our Thermarest X-Therm, and this is all inside of our bivy bags, and we use the bivy bags all throughout. So from when we started to where we ended, we always had the bivy bag. So an important thing to take in consideration when you have a bivy bag or you don't have a bivy bag is when you're staying in hostels, bed bugs. So just bear that in mind. I treated these with permethrin before we left. At one point, I found one dead bed bug in my bag, in my backpack. So I don't know where it came from or which hostel, so I won't say, but But there was one time it was dead. So I don't know if the permethrin killed it or what happened. I don't know. But we never got bit by any bed bugs. We never had none of those problems. But I know that they're throughout, and they're also at some shelters. There's also bed bugs apparently. One we knew of in Pennsylvania. But okay, getting back to what we have here. So we got the Nero Air X-Therm. That's the mummy style. And then after that, the Trekology pillow, which goes around the bag. The only problem I had with the Trekology pillow, it was fine, but because of the shape of the mummy bag, it would slip off the bag at times during the night. Not a huge deal. I still liked it. And then because it was in the winter, we also used a, this is my bag. I messed up my bag here. As you can see, I had a couple little patches I had to put on it.
What happened?
Because somebody stuck it in too small of a dryer and it burnt it. So there you go.
It wasn't me. That somebody wasn't me.
A fool and his money are soon parted, or his mummy bag at this point. But inside of this one during the winter, we also had a vapor barrier, which these worked out really well. So we would have our sleep clothes on, which consisted like a long sleeve underwear, long sleeve, long pants, underwear, and I think they were wool or capilene. And then we would get inside of this, and we'd also have a small Nalgene bottle that we had heated, and we would put that at the bottom of the sleeping bag, not inside here, but at the bottom of the sleeping bag, and that would really keep your feet warm. You never had any problems. These are negative 10 degree bags. They're Feathered Friends bags, and they're extremely warm, which is the whole time I never had mine zipped up the entire way. I always had it opened a little bit, so because it was warm. They were great bags. So love Feathered Friends products. They're expensive. They're all made in the U.S. and they're just really well made. That would be the sleep system that we use for the winter. Now, when spring rolled around,
do you remember around when that was that we shipped this? Oh, I think it was when we were in Hot Springs.
So it would have been end of February, beginning of March. So the end of February, beginning of March, we sent our sleeping bags home. We sent the vapor barriers back. If they had made vapor barrier clothing, I would much rather have that than the bag, but that's all they had was the bag, so we went with that.
But those Nalgene bottles are
Nalgene
nice.
bottles were really nice. So when you're going, what we liked is we like to carry the medium-sized gas canister, because we always would heat up 2 liters of water before we went to bed, and we throw those in there. So right away you had, the bags were warm, and it was nice getting in them when they were really warm. Because when you got into camp and it was really cold in the teens, or seemed like single digits at times, when you got into camp you were very cold. So having those heated up and thrown in there made a huge difference. No, and the thing with the Nalgene is you don't want to use the clear plastic Nalgene. You want to use they make one that's a lighter yet, so that's the Nalgene that you want to get to use for that.
Well, why is that?
Well, one is because apparently the other ones, when you heat up the boiling water and put it in there, they can give off chemicals into the water. But the opaque ones, they say that they don't have a tendency to do that. So this was our after winter and spring had just started, we sent the Hyperlight Ultimate 4, we sent that home, and we got the Hyperlight tarp, and this is the 8.5 by 10. You can set this up in a myriad of different ways. We use trekking poles to set it up. My favorite way to set it up is just like I have it set up now, which I just use a ridge line, which you normally use for like a hammock tarp. I just use the ridge line that I have, and I would tie that off. Now, somebody else had noted that that I was using prussics and a trucker's hitch, but I used to use prussics and a trucker's hitch. But what I found is that you can just get some really lightweight titanium stuff. So I'll show you really quick. On the end here, it's just a tiny little titanium hook. This one right here. This line here, my ridge line, is it's Zingit, I think is what they call it. Zingit is this right here, the line. Really strong stuff. So I got these 2 little clips on here that as you pull, it'll go in one direction. So when it pulls back, it'll stop. And then, of course, showed them this right here, tiny little titanium clip. Now on the other side, instead of using trucker tips, they have what's called what they call a wasp. This right here. So as you go around, you pull it tight, you just put another loop so the wasp will stay in place, and then you wrap it around here, tighten it down as much as you want, go back, and then it just clips under this right here. So if I unclip it, then I can let out tension. And then to bring in the tension, I just pull back on this bit right here and get around here to the other side. I don't think you see this right here, right?
Hold on 1 second.
It just goes under here like that, and then you pull it tight, and then you go around here and then back under what they call the wing right here, and just pull, and that'll lock it in place. And there you have it. It's super simple to set up, no knots involved. This titanium hardware is really lightweight. This was my favorite shelter right here, was the tarp out of anything. Now when we changed to this, we went to this in, right, like I said, right at the end of winter, the very beginning of spring. May have been a little too early, but the reason why I really like this is just you can set it up in many different ways, many different configurations, depending on what the weather was going to be like. And then we would put it in front of shelters just to cut down the wind, the rain, and snow if it was blowing in the inside for the shelters. Or my favorite, just to have it out and sleep under it. So when we sent everything, our other system home, other sleep system and everything, we got another liner. This liner here, a little tougher than
this one.
we had. What is it? The window film liner. It's the oh, I forget what it's called, but it's very thin, and I ended up getting my pad cut right through the liner, cut through that stuff, and then cut through my bivvy and cut through the pad, all right in the middle of the night. So then I had to get up at night and patch my pad and find the rock that Mila had put under my pad to puncture it. So we took care of that.
The first liner we used was like the homemade one, and we tossed it.
So then we had the emergency blanket.
Yes,
it was an emergency blanket. The Mylar is what it was. It was Mylar, and it worked out great in the shelters.
Yeah.
And on the ground, as long as you weren't by anything sharp, of course. And
yeah, and I taped that so many times, and when we get to hostels, because
so we went with this right here, and it's just a tent footprint.
Yeah,
I
really like that.
Heavy duty silk poly.
Really easy to clean too.
I think it's for a north face tent. I don't know, but it fits this. It fit us both perfectly. We never got wet under here. We were under this tarp more than anything else. So more than our tent, more than anything. So in here we have
again our bivvy.
We have the bivvy, which again we kept the entire time. We had this the whole thing, and then we had quilts. So the quilts that we had, we both had the same degree quilt. They were 10 degree hammock gear economy burl. So the burl economy or whatever it is. Now Mila had a sewn foot box and I had a zippered foot box, and I learned my lesson on a zippered foot box because the zippers on these are very fragile. My zipper on this foot box here, it quit working. Oh, it was weeks probably after I had it. So I just have the open foot on the foot box now, well, which is fine. It didn't provide any problems, but no, they were really nice. They were warm and did the job. We had them right down to their temperature rating, which was 10 degrees. We were probably even lower than that when we were up on where was that, Bald Mountain?
Yes,
where we had it.
Yeah, before we got to Uncle Johnny's.
Yeah. So it was, and we got stuck up there because the wind was blowing so hard you couldn't see anything. With the snow coming down, it was really cold. So we were in these at that night, and we didn't have our vapor barrier because we'd sent that home, which I kind of wish at that time that we had kept, because I was waking up every hour because it was so cold that the vapor from the perspiration was collecting on the outside of this, and as soon as you open up the bivvy, it would freeze. Not a lot, but it was a little bit. I was concerned about it. So I would have to wake up every hour, open up both the bivvies, and as soon as you open them up, it would freeze. and then you just brush off all the frost.
Then again, those Nalgene bottles really helped.
Yep,
Because we
Nalgene
had
helped.
those.
Yep, and yeah, we had kept those. But that was the early spring, late winter, early spring, and right up till summer setup. And then after that, we got rid of a few more things.
Yeah, I think we went ahead and got rid of our thermarest.
We did. Why don't we just talk about that? Did you want to show the? We don't need to show the other ones. Our 40 degrees. So, because it was basically the same setup, we got rid of our thermarest and we went to just a closed cell foam pad. The closed cell foam pad didn't go inside here. We just had it on the outside, just laying on the ground. And it was a 3/4 closed cell pad, so it would cover your torso. And really lightweight. I forget what it was, maybe 8 to 10 ounces, something like that. It's the Nemo, and it's the 3/4 pad. So we got rid of the thermarest, sent them home, and we used the closed cell foam pad and the quilts that we sent these quilts home because at that time these quilts were too warm.
Yeah.
And we got 40-degree economy. No, I'm sorry, 40-degree premium hammock gear quilts, and we were really happy with those too. We were never cold on our entire trip as far as sleeping. The only time that I got cold was in the very beginning of the trip. We had a puffy, but we didn't have our really good Feather Friends puffy, not the heavy duty ones.
And we can talk about that, the clothing.
We'll talk about that following.
Yeah.
When we talk about our stuff. Okay, so that was the big change as far as summer. We just got 40-degree quilts in the summer as opposed to the 10-degree quilts. We got rid of the New Air X-Therm, and we got a closed cell foam pad. And I also sent my pillow home and just used my stuff sack with a few little clothes in it that I had left.
Jeff had sent a lot of his stuff actually.
Yeah, I was pretty light at the end. So this also we would use on occasion along with our shelter. And if it was raining really bad and we needed a little bit of extra room, we would use our ponchos. And these ponchos here you can set up, you can use as a poncho or you can use them as a tarp. So on these here, regular Sea to Summit poncho, I think I said 8 ounces, right?
I can't remember.
Yeah, 8
but
ounces.
they come in one size, right?
I think so, yeah. But you can see they have little some webbing here where you can attach some stakes or some guy line, and they just have little cam snaps going all along the side. So you just undo the snaps, and we would throw it over one end, and I would just take some sticks, and I would use these the webbing here, and I would just put the sticks through there, and I would just stake it down with the sticks. So really super easy to do, and it gave you just that, you know, extra bit. You see how wide that is right there. It would give you that much more width on your shelter, so you could, you know, give your whichever way the rain was blowing, wherever, you could give your packs and everything. You keep them out of the rain too. These are just sil nylon, and they work great. I have no complaints about them. The only thing that I would think I would rather have would be a two-way zipper on both sides that you could completely unzip her and open up, or you could zip her up. That would be waterproof, but that would add a little weight, and but it would also keep the, because when the wind's blowing, it'll blow in on you. That's about it.
Yeah, and do people just use that as their?
I mean, I suppose you could. They don't now. They also make, and we have like a gatewood cape, and those are also a.
They use that as the primary shelter?
Yeah, and it weighs about 11 ounces, and you can use it as your primary shelter. And it's also a shaped tarp, so you can use trekking pole in the center, or they make a carbon fiber or an aluminum pole for the center of it, the gatewood cape. And if someone wants to see that, I could bring that out and show you, but it's pretty cool. I like that one. I probably like that one maybe better than I like this one.
Yeah.
So this is what we also had. So given our preference, now this right here, this material here is a monolite. So it's just super, super lightweight stuff. I would say this, with tree straps and everything, I think it's around 8 ounces. It's ridiculously light. And we got these because it was really nice in the middle of the day. You know, if you just want to sit down or put them in, set them up in camp, you could sit in them. You know, take the weight off your feet or whatever. And there were a couple nights where we would put our close cell foam pads.
Oh, these are the pads that we changed.
We would put them on the bottom since we didn't have no underquilt. We would put those on the bottom and we would sleep in them. But the problem that we were having is, especially there getting on there towards the end, is it rained so much and every day that you really couldn't use them. Not without having a tarp set up over it. And since our tarp doesn't go over these, we couldn't use that very well. There was an occasion where it wasn't supposed to rain. I think the rain was in like, the probabilities was like in the low single digits, whatever, like, you know, maybe 5% or something like that rain. So we set these up and we
I remember that.
Yeah.
When we were in Vermont.
Yep. We slept in them, and then all of a sudden, at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're feeling rain on your face.
Yeah, I said, rain, rain, rain.
So we jumped up, and it was the fastest we ever packed up.
Man, I do remember that.
Packed up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was not long after that we ended up having to send these home too, because we just couldn't use them anymore.
But that's actually my favorite way to sleep. My back doesn't hurt.
Yeah, these were nice. And if we were to do it again, I would just, well, we have tarps for both of them now.
Yeah, we
and
just bought
a setup for both of them. What we originally had in our original intent was only to use hammocks, and they make Dutch Gear makes a little connector so you can connect 2 hammocks on your straps and on one set of trees, and you can put it under one tarp. But the problem with that is that with me in one and Milo in the other, if I were to get up or if I were to move at night, it would just sling her everywhere. She would. So she
I
never
don't
got any
get sleep. Yeah.
You know.
So now we each have our own hammocks and tarp,
Our own
right?
tarp,
So we can set it up however.
Yeah, we can be like way far apart from each other. Which is
Yeah,
what we
we're
prefer.
mad at each other.
Yeah, which
when
is
there's
most of the time.
drama.
Most of the time. So, yeah, we do that. And I think that was, as far as shelter goes and sleep system, I think that was about it, right?
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, again, this is the pads that we switch from Thermarest, and this is actually, it took me a long time to get used to this.
These, like for sleeping in shelter, and we slept on these in shelters. They were not ideal. When you're outside, you're sleeping on the ground, especially if you find like nice soft spot like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That it was perfect. Like where there was one night where we had a lot of rain. It rained a lot, and we were inside. We didn't get wet. We were on these, but the ground was just it absorbed all the rain. It was almost like a sponge. But the ground was so soft that it was.
I was in Maine.
It was nice,
Mm-hmm.
super nice.